Fun with Failure. Welcome, this is Dallas with Fun with Failure. This is a narration only video. I am going to have a full video with all the sound effects and videos, like the videos that would match the stories, but I want to be able to have something that I can put out right away. And some people, they like it where it's something that they can sit back and relax and listen to and not have the distraction of all the extra stuff. So I'm going to have this as a regular feature. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe for more. I would very much appreciate the support, and I hope you enjoy. I was out drinking with some mates on a bit of an informal reunion. We'd been out a fair while when we went to a bar that used to be a student favorite. Over time it had become a locals pub popular with the residents of a nearby council housing estate. Most of the guys really didn't fit in, with their skinny jeans and fancy shirts. I've always been of a scruff bag, so I didn't stand out too much. After one drink, my round by the way, everyone decided they wanted to get out of there and try another bar, so we left quite quickly. After 10 meters out of the door, I realized that I left my leather jacket behind. When I went back in to grab it, someone was picking it up off the seat. I said, "Oi, that's mine," and he apologized, saying that he thought it was his because it looked similar. I slapped it on and caught up with my mates. At the next bar, we didn't stay long enough to get back to my round, and we headed to a club. I agreed to pay the lads' way in instead of a round, but when we got to the door, I found that I didn't have my wallet. Obviously, the guy going through my jacket in the court end must have nicked it. This club was on the same road as a police station, so I said to the lads I'm going to report it stolen, and then I'll catch up with them in a bit. I went to the police station and there were about 4 policemen in the car park, so I called one of them over and told him the tale. When they asked for a description of the guy, I gave it. Here's where I should have thought harder. He had hair about the same length and color as me, a beard about the same length as mine, and he had eyes the same color as mine. He was about my height, he was wearing a t-shirt about the same color as mine, and he said he had a leather jacket like mine, so I told them he might be wearing a leather jacket. I told them all of this, and he was at the court, gave them my phone number, and left. Since the court end wasn't far and it would be closing time soon, I thought it would be a good idea if I go back and confront the guy. So as I was wandering back, I wanted to text the guys and let them know what was going on. I couldn't find my phone. I was confused by this, because I thought I remembered checking it in the queue for the club. Turns out the inside of my leather jacket had a tear in the lining. As I'm almost at the pub, I find my phone, and my wallet, and my old work ID in the lining of my jacket. Relieved, I turned around to head back to the club, right as 2 police officers are stepping out of their car behind me. I walked towards them thinking that I would tell them I reported the crime and I wanted to cancel the report. They came over and said they were investigating a theft, and I suspect I wasn't clear in my explanation because I said something like, "No, I've got the wallet back." They asked to see it, saw it had my ID in it, saw I matched the description of the thief, and started arresting me. I don't think that it helped that on my driver's license I had no beard, and at this point I had quite a full beard. When they got back to the station, they had my phone number and rang it to try to get in touch with me. When it rang, they thought that I must have taken it as well. I tried to explain that I was me, and that I was mistaken when I said that my wallet was stolen, but I was nervous, drunk, and rambling, so they didn't really get it. But they did say that if it was my phone, could I unlock it? I was shaking and nervous and drunk, and I got my PIN wrong 3 times, and that was that. They processed me and threw me in jail overnight. In the morning, a sober me was easily able to explain that I was me, and that this was all a big misunderstanding. And in the clear light of day, they could see that I matched my ID, and I was let go with a warning about wasting police time and filing false police reports. I can't remember the exact date, but it was about 2 years ago when it happened. It all started one day in the middle of holidays when my parents weren't home. It was a cold day and I really fancied a soup. So I called up my mom and asked her if I could make one, and she agreed. Let me just clarify, I don't actually know how to cook anything properly. But anyway, I took out a recipe book and read through the ingredients for tomato soup. I understood everything until I came across 1 clove of garlic. So being a naive youngster that I was, I thought that one clove of garlic meant the whole garlic. This is where I fracked up. I go into the cupboard to find an almost complete garlic bulb. I unwrap each clove, crush them, and add them to my soup mix. My eyes were watering at this point, and the kitchen began to smell very ripe. But, as it wasn't a complete bulb, I decided to add some garlic paste as well to make sure I had, in my mind, a complete garlic clove. I obviously didn't understand how strong garlic paste was. I started cooking. The smell gets worse, but I just think, whatever. Garlic normally smells bad anyway. My eyes were watering even more at this point, but I just blinked the tears away. I'm determined to finish my soup and actually cook something for once. The allotted time for cooking is done, and I turn off the heat and leave the soup to cool. Then, I pour myself a generous bowl and sit down. It was gross. I couldn't understand what I had done wrong. So, still determined to have my soup, I think on what to do. I decided it needed some tomatoes. The problem was, we ran out of canned tomatoes. So I poured half of my special soup mixture into the blender and added 4 whole tomatoes. I blended them together. The resulting mixture tasted horrid. I added tomato ketchup. Still bad. I gave up and cleared up. But the kitchen still stank a bit at this point. I was used to it, so I didn't realize how bad the smell was, until my mom came home. She came into the kitchen coughing, eyes watering, fingers over her nose. Turns out, the smell of garlic was so strong that, even hours later, it could have people crying. My house was an open plan, so not only did the kitchen smell, but the lounge, the dining room, and all the corridors upstairs. The dinner party my parents were hosting that night was canceled. I was told that, even though I was 18, I must be supervised from then on when cooking, like a 5-year-old. The kitchen stank for weeks after, and every smoothie we made months later tasted like garlic. I have never cooked again. This happened about 14 years ago when I was 3 years old. Although I don't remember much of it myself, my parents do. And it's now pretty much ingrained in my brain since I've been told at every family gathering. First, let me set the scene. It was a hot day, and I'd just been on a boring shop with my mom to buy some stuff for kindergarten. We parked in the grounds to unload the car, and my mom and her friend left me and my friend to play. Since it was a hot day, they gave us the hose pipe to play with in the sand pit, and left the car window open. What could possibly go wrong? My mom and her friend ended up gossiping inside, leaving us to play on our own in the sand pit. Me and my friend spent a bit of time playing with the water in the sand pit, making many lakes and rivers. After a while, we got bored with the sand pit and ended up setting our sights on other things. I'm not really sure what was going through my head at that time, but for some reason, my 3-year-old brain thought that it would be a fun idea to thread the running hose pipe through the open car window before we went to find our mums to have lunch. The hose pipe ended up running for over an hour and a half, enough to fill the car almost a couple of feet. It was a big car. When my mom finally stopped gossiping and we went to leave, Mom noticed the hose pipe sticking out of the car window. The PG-13 edition of this is what she said, was something along the lines of, "Oh crap, I hope that isn't on," followed closely by, "Oh crud." As she opened the door, she was met with a waterfall, soaking her legs and her feet. Here's the aftermath. Water dripping out of the stereo and tape deck. Water in the automatic gear shift. Water dripping from the steering wheel onto my mom's lap whenever she turned a corner on the drive home. Water pulling in the back when the car was stopped on an incline. This went on for several days. The car smelt for weeks. The automatic locking and heated seats never worked again. The alarm never worked again. The stereo recovered, somewhat. I didn't get to play with the hose for a long time. According to my mum, we had this conversation when we got home. Mum, sweetheart, I was just wondering why. Me, I wanted to see what would happen. Mum, and what did happen? Me, Mummy got cross? Mum, yes. So, I've had a cold or a terminal man flu for the past week. Mostly it's on his way out, but it left my nose dripping like a leaky tap. On my way home, I stopped by the shop to pick up some chocolate to keep my immune system in tip-top condition. I scrape together all the change I have, which comes out just enough for a whisper. As I come to hand it to the checkout girl, my nose screams battle stations and I instinctively bring my hands up to cover my mouth and nose, coins and all. I sneeze. This is all the money I had. So rather than do what a sensible person would do, i.e., apologize and resign myself to a chocolateless walk home, I panic and hold out the coins for the checkout girl as if it was a perfectly normal way to initiate a transaction. She also seemed to panic, and rather than do what a sensible person would do, i.e., point out that the money is a lot less appealing covered with mucus, she takes the coins with a mixture of disgust and embarrassment and drops them in the till as quickly as possible. Neither of us speaks and I leave as quickly as possible. On the way home, I find a fresh 10 pounds in my back pocket. I want to preface this story by saying that I don't frack with bugs, arachnids, creepy crawlers, insects, or anything like that. Just the thought of them give me chills. Yes, I'm a man, but when it comes to stuff like that, I can be a drama queen. Now, I'll mess with snakes, reptiles, big cats, elephants, zebras, and assimilated monkeys. Heck, even when it comes to some bugs. If it's something that I can identify and know for a fact that it's harmless, I'll frack with it. Mainly pill bugs because it just rolls up into a ball. If it's something I've never seen in my life and look like it's traveled 10,000 light years to come and kill me, I will be out of there. I don't believe the scientists have discovered all the bug species out here on Earth. Who the frack knows what other types of genetically modified, lab-grown insects that are out there? If you think I'm crazy for saying that, just know that I've seen some crap. Before I move on, you need to know one more thing to understand why I did what I did. One time I was toasted and I was drunk, and I saw this bug. I was feeling pretty good and I didn't want to waste my buzz. It was pretty small, so I got up and hit it with a physics book. When I lifted the textbook to see if it was dead, I could hear it yell, "Surprise, mother flipper!" I swear that this fracking bug did not only triple in size, but it looked like the offspring of Invader Zim and a black mosquito on steroids. It literally squared up with me, face to face, then BAM! Hit me in the face with a spear-like edge from WWE. I ran out of my room and prepared a flamethrower solution. When I came back, I couldn't find it. I never saw it again after that. This happened a year ago. So now that you know where I stand with bugs, we can move on to my frack up. So I woke up today and go to the bathroom to drop off my kids at the pool. Man, do I love to take my morning craps. I look forward to them every day. I just sit and browse Reddit for like 2 hours. As I started to finish up, I saw something in the corner of my eye. I slowly look up and what do I see? It was Invader Zim. It was back and bigger than ever. That mother flipper looked like it joined the special forces and spent the past year training to kill me. It was just sitting on the wall directly in front of me, but close to the ceiling. I got up as fast as I could, but I forgot that I had a turd still hanging off my butt, and that stuff hit the floor. Now I'm standing in my small bathroom with a turd on the floor, and something that's out to kill me. I don't know how, but I managed to get a picture of this intergalactic monster. Then I ran to my room and grabbed a calculus textbook, over 1,000 pages. I figured it would do the trick, because I don't want to burn my house down. I knew I had to kill this once and for all. I get back to my bathroom, and luckily it moved down the wall a bit, so I could hit it with the book easily. I hit it so hard and kept holding the book in hopes that it would suffocate. After a solid 10 seconds, I crap you not, this fracking bug popped out from under the book. I dropped my calculus book and it landed on my turd on the floor. Then I ran. My mom came to check on me to see what all the banging was about, and walked into the bathroom and saw a chocolate fudge brownie topped with a textbook. The craziest part is, Invader Zim got away once again, and I looked dumb as frack. This bug specifically creeps me the frack out. They don't die. Or should I say, it doesn't die. This is my second encounter with this monster, and I don't look forward to the third. This bug knows dang well what it's doing. It's like those cutaways in the Family Guy where Peter and the chicken go at it. The only difference is, mine is real life and it's scary as heck. I work in a lab with a UV light, basically a black light, which is rather dim for a light source. It essentially leaves me working in the dark. One time when I finished up with the lamp, I sat at my desk and completely blinded myself by switching on a regular lamp, which was much brighter. Fun fact about OP, having a bright light shone in my eyes makes me sneeze. Repeatedly, like 11 or 12 times in a row. Current record is 17. It's particularly bad after spending a few hours in the dark, so I sneeze. Hard. I smash my face into the desk, which doesn't stop my sneezing. Didn't even slow it down, really. Instead, it busted my nose open. I tried to cover my nose with my hands and get to the toilet while sneezing, but that basically made things worse. A dozen or so sneezes later, and my little corner of the lab looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. There's a small trail of blood all the way to the toilets, bloody hand marks on the lab door, and I look like an extra from The Walking Dead. I started to hit the gym, and I decided to cut sugars out to help with my diet. Last week, I decided to reward myself with some ice cream. I went on my merry way to the store, bought this Magnum ice cream box for me and my family. You know, those with the milky core on a stick surrounded with chocolate. I get out of the store and head back home. I dump the ice cream box in the freezer, which was way cooler than the supermarket freezer, and I decide to lay down for a bit. A few hours later and I wake up, super hungry, and I remember the ice cream. Please don't judge me. I rush to the freezer, rip open the box, and pull out the ice cream. I go back to my room and start slurping and biting the crud out of that ice cream. 10 seconds pass, and by that time the ice cream was already half eaten. I ate the whole box of ice cream in less than a minute. What happened next was probably what got me so fracked up. I stand up and walk toward my computer to watch some YouTube, and my head slowly starts to cool. Brain freeze. At this point I just place my hand over it, because it's warm, and wait a few seconds. While standing, I took a big fracking whiff of air, and the cold starts getting worse and worse. At this point it becomes a headache, a really intense headache. I'm standing in the middle of the room and holding my head and moaning in pain. My head's freezing and aching, and then my vision starts to fade. I black out. I wake up a bit later, I'm not sure how much later, with my shirt covered with a bit of blood and with a major headache. There's also blood in the corner of my gaming table. I passed out and hit my head. I went to the doctor afterwards to see if everything was okay. I said I tripped, because the explanation would be much too awkward. After that day, I still had a tingling pain in my head, but it disappeared after the third day. One night I couldn't sleep, and it was around 3 a.m., so I decided that I could smoke and listen to some music. I finished my cigarette. I was sitting at my desk while music was blaring through my headphones. Now, when I usually listen to music, I do nothing else. I fidget a lot, and without realizing it, my cheap plastic lighter was in my mouth. And I started to chew the bottom of it, not that hard, while moving it around my mouth. Then it reached my canines, and suddenly I felt and heard a fast spraying, which landed into my mouth and across my face. I immediately threw the lighter across the room in shock, and in a panic I looked online to see what to do. I ran to the bathroom to wash my face and rinse out my mouth for about 10 minutes. I spoke to my mom about what happened, and she agreed that I should wash out my mouth as well. Now 20 minutes after this had passed, and I was shaken. I decided to have another cigarette. I obviously couldn't use my lighter, so I found another one in my desk drawer. This lighter was a cheap, jacked lighter, which basically means that I had messed with it so that the flame doesn't go out when I let go of the gas button. And I forgot this. I put it down on my desk without realizing that I put a lighter with an open flame on a desk covered with lighter fluid. This started a small fire, but I easily put it out by slapping it. However, I'm wearing the same t-shirt with sleeves that are covered in lighter fluid because I forgot to change my clothes. I now had another fire that was on my arms. From now on, I'm not chewing on a lighter or smoking indoors again. One afternoon, my roommate decided he wanted to dye his hair. He and I went and bought a box of dyeing solution to do it ourselves. Everything went smoothly, but since his hair was short, it only took around a third of the bottle. I left the remaining solution in the original bottle on the table in our room, and that is where I fracked up. At midnight, the bottle started to swell up and began to burst. I was on my computer and my roommate was sleeping. I felt something cool spray the back of my neck. First, I thought it was the fire extinguisher system. You know, the water sprinkling system that's on the ceiling. And I thought, oh crap, is there a fire in the building? But after a few seconds, I realized it was coming from the table. I turned back around and saw the bottle swollen up, and it was spraying the solution all over the room. It even got on my pillow, bed sheets, and my whole backpack is covered in the solution. And the smell is horrible. It basically smells like ammonia, or the worst public toilet ever. Now I'm cleaning my room at midnight and it smells like pee. To clarify, the bottle we bought came in 2 parts, and to use it you have to mix them together, and that starts a reaction to release the gas. And that's why it won't burst while it's in the store for a long time. This happened years ago when I was in 6th grade, so a couple of the details might be a little off, but unfortunately I don't have any pics or anything of the incident. I was sitting in biology class, bored out of my mind, listening to the teacher talk about who knows what. So my curious mind in me started to take the pen apart that I should be taking notes with, just to see how it worked. After I took it apart, I decided to try and write with it with just the stick of ink. Finally, after a fair amount of doodling, I ended up snapping the tip of the ink cartridge straight off. So here I am with an oozing stick of ink, not paying the slightest bit of attention to my teacher lecturing about class, blobbing big wet balls of blue ink all over my sheet of loose leaf paper. At this point my teacher sees me doodling and not paying attention, so she comes over while talking and grabs my paper, crumples it up, and throws it out. So there was the end of my fun. Now this was a warm spring day and this room didn't have any AC, so it was quite warm in the room. My teacher goes to wipe her brow with her hand and ended up wiping most of her face when suddenly the whole class burst into hysterical laughter as her face turned blue. Meanwhile, I shrunk into the corner realizing what happened. The ink from my pen had gotten all over her hands and she smeared it all over herself. As she realized that she just turned into a Smurf, she excused herself to clean up. I never got caught. She never realized it was the blobs of wet ink on my paper that she got all over herself. This happened a few weeks ago. She didn't mention me in the review by name, but everyone at the dealership, management included, knows who would do this. Anyway, here's the review. The exact thing you fear will happen at the car dealership. I walked in to turn in my lease, not buy a car. These are the exact words the salesman and I spoke. Him. Hey, welcome to the dealership. Me. I'm just here to turn in my lease. Him. Waves his hand. And you want to buy a new car. Me. No, I just want to turn in my lease, like I said. Him. Waves his hand. But these are the cars you're looking for. At this point I had to tell him, for a 3rd time, that I'm not buying a car. I started yelling at him and he admitted that it was a mind control trick. I was flabbergasted. Do not go to this dealership under any circumstances. So that's my mistake for trying to quote a Star Wars movie to someone who clearly doesn't appreciate it. Thanks for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button and subscribe for more videos in the future. But if you like the full version with all the sound effects and the videos that go with it, that will also be a regular thing just a little bit later in the week. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day.